There's a new Netflix film about Mary, mother of Jesus, is causing controversy over the casting of 21-year-old Israeli actress Noah Cohen as Mary and Israeli actor Ido Taco as Joseph. We know from biblical accounts that Mary, Joseph, and Jesus were Israelites, but now critics are calling for a boycott of the film, claiming Mary was a Palestinian. Take a look at part of the trailer.
Mary, your birth was a gift for your mother and I. It was a miracle. But in exchange, I made a promise.
We have been waiting. Great Herod, the prophecy speaks of the coming Messiah.
Joining us now by Zoom is Hen Mazzig, a senior fellow at the Tel Aviv Institute. He is now in Washington attending a Hanukkah lighting candle event at the White House. Welcome and thank you for being here, Hen.
Thanks for having me, Emily.
So you are definitely a real activist that has been taken to social media to really correct wrongs in terms of narratives and history, with critics now calling for a boycott of this film, insisting she was a Palestinian. Explain why that can't be the case.
I keep being surprised that I have to fight for Jesus' identity. I never imagined myself being in this position. And I'm sure many Jews share this feeling of why do we have to fight for Jesus' identity? Jesus was a Jew. In Luke 2:21, Jesus was circumcised according to the Jewish law. In Luke 4:16, we saw that Jesus regularly attended synagogues and participated in Shabbat prayers. In John, he goes to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover. They called him the King of the Jew. In John, in the inscription on the cross, read Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Jesus was a Jew, and the reason that we are seeing this campaign to try and rewrite history in this specific way is because that if those anti-Israel groups and movement would admit that Jesus was a Jew, it means that Jews lived in the land of Israel long before the first Christmas. So I think that's why we're seeing this campaign that is going on in Columbia University and in Harvard and in other places, in Oxford, this attempt to say that Jews have nothing to do with the land of Israel, because that's the only way to justify this anti-Israel campaign that is calling for the removal of all Jews from our ancestral homeland.
Well, and, not only that, I think it's safe to say, the Jewish people have been technically kind of whitewashed out of history with the portrayals, obviously, over years, and now a portrayal claiming the Palestinian identity. Explain why historically it's not a factor. There was no such thing back then.
Right. I mean, Jesus wasn't a Palestinian because Palestine was named that after the Romans conquered Israel, and the Emperor Hadrian renamed this land to punish the Jews and to completely remove any sovereignty from our homeland. So rewriting Jesus' identity is just rewriting Jewish history. That's why so many of them are doing it, and that's why a lot of us are upset, because we recognize that it's not about fighting for anyone's rights, but it's only to erase Jewish connection to this land. I don't understand why you can't support Palestinian rights and needs without reframing ancient Jewish history of this land. But it's something that we're seeing happening over and over again. So I don't think it's a minor or just a radical campaign. It's something that is very sophisticated and aimed at people that don't know any better, and make sure that their whole worldview, this anti-Israel worldview, would stay intact while they're doing this.
Obviously, screen legend Sir Anthony Hopkins didn't have an issue. He plays King Herod, and he has a history. Apparently, he grew up with Jewish families, was involved in their Shabbat home things, turning on lights and whatnot.
Yeah, it's quite interesting time that we're living in when people are so uncomfortable with admitting historical facts, and I mean, it's fascinating that people from different generations didn't have to face these issues, and we could speak about history. We can say that Israel is doing things that are wrong and criticize Israel, but these days, I think it's very hard for people to have a conversation about historical facts and about the Jewish connection to this land of Israel. In the earlier report that you interviewed, that the reporter was saying that Adi and I, a facilitator in Colombia, was fired because she said that she doesn't think Jews have any DNA connection to the land of Israel. Truth and fact really don't care about what a facilitator in Colombia feels about Jews. The reality and history will always be the strongest case we have for why Jews have the right to live in Israel and why being anti-Israel is really anti-Semitic.
Thank you very much, as always, Hen Mazzig, Senior Fellow at the Tel Aviv Institute. Always a pleasure.